What's going on, people? It's Mr. Dove back again with a preview show. I hope everyone's fit and well. And I'm back at last after a long not been on YouTube for a while. As you know, the Queen passed away. So I thought I'd put a little bit of respect and keep off YouTube for a bit. But as you know, Nottingham Forest are back tomorrow at the City Ground against another promotion side, Fulham. Big game for both clubs. People, like I said, if you are new to my channel, please do hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and comment below, people, what is your score prediction as well. I'll go through every comment as well. Before I do start, I know that last time I did a live stream, it was Dez did his usual Monday dial-in as well, and there was a good response for that. But I saw some disrespectful comments on there, so any live streams, if I see any disrespectful comments that on the live stream, you'll be cancelled completely and you'll be banned. So if you do, people, just show us a little bit of respect. If it's just me, Des, or anyone who's on this platform, or like I said, any rival fans as well, just show some respect and enjoy the channel. That's all I'm asking for. Enjoy the channel and have fun. But like I said, people, as well, I've got a special guest. As he's been on the channel before. Last time he came on this channel, we beat him 1-0 at Cayman Cottage. We beat him 1-0, but he's back on. And as everyone knows, it's Alan. How you doing, Alan?
I'm very well, thank you, Mr. Dore. How are you?
I'm not too bad. I'm not too bad. Before we do start, like I said, we're back in the Premier League. How do you feel? We're back in the Premier League.
I know it's for us. It's sort of a normal now. It's sort of up, down, up, down, up, down. So for us, it's just another chance of trying to survive. But speaking to you twice last year, I did actually say twice, if you go back, that you will go up through the playoffs. So I'm just going to put that one out there. But no, it's good. We've started off well, and yeah, it's good to have Forest in the Premier League, and it's exciting watching you on the telly because there's entertainment at both ends. So yeah, I'm looking forward to tomorrow night.
100%. But like I said, I forgot to tell you, like I said, me and Alan's on the show for 25 minutes. And then afterwards, we'll talk about this. There's been quite a lot of things happening with Forest. So after this show, we've got the man himself, Des, and as well, the man himself, Dave, after the stream. So we and Alan will be kicking in for about 25 minutes, talk about tomorrow's game and as well. And if anyone's got any comments about to Alan about Fulham's form, please do. And if you want to help support the channel as well, like a super chat, please help me out as well, people. Right, let's start, Alan. And before we do talk about the game, like I said, I don't want to rub it in. I know last time you came on this channel, I think you did say we wanted Forest to beat you a little bit, but let's look back. I said we won 1-0, but as a Fulham fan, how did you feel about that game?
Well, in our eyes, we were already promoted. If we'd have won that night and Bournemouth would have dropped points, we'd officially gone up officially been promoted anyway. But as it turned out, we lost. You won, and I think Bournemouth come back from 3-0 down against Swansea that night and got a draw. So it actually worked out okay for everyone. We still went up. We still won the league. But yeah, it's as I said last time, I wouldn't be too surprised or too upset if you'd won. Because it would have been good for you, which you did. But looking back, it's probably a good thing you won because the enjoyment we got from going up as champions was just surreal. It was the last two times we went up, it was through the playoffs, and the last time we went up as champions was in 2000, 2001, and I was only a kid then, so I couldn't really appreciate it. But seeing it this time around, and it was a great night.
Right before, like I said, we're going to talk about tomorrow's game. I'm just going through the comments as well. Like I said, I do appreciate everyone coming to comment. Say, let me just go through the comments as well. This is Georgie Tune for live evening door. How you doing, Mark? Peace and love. How you doing, evening, door? Hope you're well. I'm excited to see you tomorrow and give you a score prediction as well. Yes, of course you can. If you do, people, as you know, I'll be at the game. If you want to get on the vlog, do a score prediction. I'll be at the ground around 6:30. But I'll talk about later on where I'm having some dinner. So because there's a nice Jamaican place, but that I'll talk later on when I get Des and Dave on. As well, I got the man himself, Albertus Uvres, as a legend. Kiss Kel, say hello to him as well. How you doing, Claire? Evening Door and Alan as well. Right, let's start, Alan. Right, we're back in the Premier League. You've not done too bad. Tell all the Forest fans, as a Fulham fan, how are you feeling? Like
We're in a good place at the minute. We've lost twice, away at Arsenal and away at Tottenham. We have had 2 wins as well, home to Brentford and home to Brighton, which is no easy feat in itself. But yeah, we've been really happy with our performances so far. Tottenham, we looked a bit sluggish, a bit tired at times, but we actually we completed more passes that game than we did in any other game this season. But you could just tell we were a bit off it. And we had played Brighton a few nights previous to that and, played really well. But Tottenham, not many teams are going to go there and get much from them this season. But that's probably the worst performance of the season, but we still competed. We only lost 2-1. And at the end, we probably could have got a point, but it would have been unjustified because ultimately it's the only game this season we deserve to lose. You're being attacked there, Dor. Looks like you're being attacked by a fly there.
It's a double fly. Every time I do a live stream, it's always coming. It's a double
courtesy of Harry Wilson.
We don't talk about him. But yeah, carry on. Sorry.
But yeah, we go into tomorrow with confidence. I would have liked to have played against Chelsea on Saturday because with it being our local derby, and I feel like we could have beaten them for the first time in 16 years. But no, the rest has probably done us well. As I said, we were looking a bit tired after the Tottenham game. But no, I'm excited about tomorrow. And every time we've spoken before a game at the City Ground, we've always won. So
that's the worst thing about it. You're the one. I don't want to talk about the game that you came here last time. I don't want to talk about it, people. But
was that the 4-0?
Huh?
Was that the 4-0?
I can't remember. I can't remember the game. As far as fans, we don't remember that game at all. We don't remember that game. But let me keep it real. Like I said, I remember that game well. I think Steve kept his first defeat as Nottingham Forest manager, and you was class. You were class. Yeah. You got like a top striker that you will talk about later on. But yeah, like I said, I don't want to talk about it. Why are we talking about it?
Yeah, it's history. Let's talk about tomorrow.
Let's talk about tomorrow. But yeah, carry on, Alan.
But yeah, no, as I said, what's it now? 6 games we've played, and we're 10th. I'd happily end the season now. Where are you sitting at the minute?
Second to bottom.
Oh, so you wouldn't want the season to finish now? Okay. But no, we're sitting comfortable. And to be honest, our next 7 games, they're looking quite favourable. If it's even possible in the Premier League, but they're games we can look at and go, we can win these games. And the games that you look at and you go, right, we've got Forest, we have Newcastle, West Ham, Bournemouth, Villa, Leeds, Everton. I think that's our next 7 games. So we haven't got any of the big boys. So I'm hoping for a good result tomorrow night. Like I'm sure you will.
I remember Forest were playing with Newcastle in the first game of the season, and I watched some of the game against Liverpool, and I personally thought you should have won that game. And as a Fulham fan, was you gutted that you didn't get the 3 points?
It was mixed emotions, to be honest, because you walk away from that game with a point, which you'd have bitten someone's hand off before the game. A point home to Liverpool, you take that. But on the overall reflection of how the game went, Van Dijk's not been the same since Mitrovic sent him to school. I suppose a little bit disappointed that it was only 1 point rather than 3. And again, the game after against Wolves, we drew and missed a penalty with like 9 minutes to go. So up until Brighton, we could be sitting top of the league at 1 point.
Imagine.
So, it's fine margins, isn't it? It is a game of fine margins.
Yeah, I think we had the same problem as well. Like I said, we lost to Newcastle, we beat West Ham, and we should have won against Everton. And let's say fine margin. It's like I said, we've 1-0 up. We thought it was coasting, and then we can't. We've got to be switched on.
I saw the highlights of that Everton game from Forest, and I saw the goal, and obviously I knew the result. I didn't know what time Everton had equalised, and the defensive line for Forest was so high. He was not up at the halfway line. With Was it injury time they scored?
Yeah, about 88th minute, something around
Yeah.
that time.
Was that a bit of naivety on your part, or
Yeah,
do you think that's you literally did just switch off?
we switched off. Just with all this, we switched off, and like I think it was Gray who scored it, and I didn't see Joe. Don't think Joe Wall seen him, and like I said, it's something that Joe will learn.
Mm.
And I said we've done it a few times, and playing against these teams, especially a Premier League team,
Yeah.
as well. But we got to switch off, and that's we'll learn. We'll learn from it, and it is what it is. It is what
Mm.
it is. But I think with Fulham said you've got some good players, man, and I don't know who Fulham brought in. There's a question I want to say to Alan, and this is the most annoying thing, right? And as you know, I will talk to you about it later on. We brought in 22 players, and I
Mm.
know you brought in roughly around that the time you brought loads of players as well. When you put all them players, right, did you get the same negative response as when Fulham brought all these players, like Forest have?
Well, I think that season we come up, I think we signed, I think it was about 14 players. So it wasn't as many as Forest. But again, we was in that same position as you. It was our first time back for a few years, and the squad just wasn't good enough to compete in the Premier League. Now
Mm,
you've come up, and a lot of what you've done has been forced upon you because your squad last season was full of loans. It was full of players coming to the end of their contract. You had to do some serious business. Now, from an outsider's looking in, you may have done a little bit too much. But again, looking at the 25-man squad you put through, you've got a lot of Premier League experience there. You've got some serious talent in your squad. The biggest thing that we found was because the players were bought so late on in the window, they weren't given enough time to gel. There wasn't enough time to get that team chemistry there, and we was always playing catch up. And some of the signings we made just ultimately weren't good enough. Whereas I think your business now you've signed some good experienced Premier League players, and like is it Kiarte, Sergio Aurier. So although they were coming to the end of their time at Palace and at Tottenham, they will still do a good job at Forest. But I think the biggest concern I have for you this season is, are the players going to gel in time to keep your head above water? I think the World Cup may be a big factor in helping you. I
yeah.
think the fact that we're going to have 6-7 weeks off will help Forest. But no, there's always going to be a lot of negativity when you come up and you spend loads of money. But it did get to the stage where you woke up every morning during sort of August, and Forest seemed to be linked with a new player, a new day, a new player linked with Forest. But you know better than anyone that you needed to buy, and you needed to bulk up that squad, and you have a good manager there in Cooper.
Yeah, what's the question? Like, and Steve Cooper, like I said, after what he did for Nottingham Forest last season, as a rival fan, I know he's been linked with Brighton, but that's people will talk about that later on with Dave and Dez. So people don't forget to watch that. So keep on watching this. Do you rate Steve Cooper, and do you think he's the man that can stay on long term for Forest?
I think he is. I've always liked Cooper for what he did for England. He has a style about him. He knows the way he wants to play football. You know what you're going to get from him. I think he got a bit of unnecessary criticism from some of your own fans after the Bournemouth game. Was it 2 weeks ago? But look, don't expect results straight away. I know the West Ham game, you got the 3 points. I think they did everything but score that day, West Ham, and that's not meant to discredit you in any way. It was a very hard fought win, and you done well there. But there's going to be games that you lose, and just like us, there's going to be a lot of games that we lose. But for you, you're still trying to gel that team together. But you've got some serious talent in there, so it won't be long before you start going on a run, picking up points every week.
People, there's 71 people in. If you can do a massive favor for me, hit the like button as well. If you're new to my channel, please do hit the subscribe button as well. And if you've got any questions for Alan, regarding Fulham season so far, please put in the comments as well. Alan, like I said, it's going to be a long season. I know everyone keeps saying like us, Fulham, Bournemouth, the usual teams that went up. Do you think you can stay up with the team that you brought in? I know what players have you brought in that you excite you?
Well, Paulinho, he's a holding midfielder. We signed him from Sporting Lisbon for I think 17.2 million, and honestly, it's a steal. 17.2 million. When we sell him, which we will eventually, we're going to get at least double that. He's a phenomenal player, and you might even get to see that tomorrow. Sits just in front of the defence. Loves the yellow card, loves the tackle, but he's absolutely phenomenal. And Wolves should have signed him at the beginning of the window, and they didn't. Thankfully for us. You still being attacked by that fly.
Every single stream. It's every single stream. Come on, the blue fly. Go away.
But no, so we signed Paulinho. We signed Mana Solomon from Shakhtar, who
He's a
unfortunately
good player.
Very good. But he got injured in the behind closed door friendly after the Liverpool game. The next day after we played Liverpool, he was playing a friendly behind closed doors, and he got injured, which was unfortunate. And then Harry Wilson did the same thing. He got injured in the behind closed door friendly. So we had Solomon. We signed a new left back from PSG who hasn't, I don't think, kicked a ball in 18 months. So that's a bit. But we signed Bernd Leno, who's in my opinion, one of the top 5 goalkeepers in the Premier League, even now. We've signed Issa Diop, Shane Duffy. So we've signed a nice mixture of players. You won't get to see many of them tomorrow because we're still playing with eight or 9 players from the 11 that took us up last season. But Andreas Pereira is another one that we signed from Man United.
Man United, good player as well.
Very good. His end product has been criticised a little bit so far. His flair, his set piece delivery is great. It's just sometimes his end products in play can sometimes leave a bit to be desired. But he'll come good. He just needs an arm around him. I think we've got a perfect manager for that. But no, we're excited this season, and we've not felt like this in a long time.
Cool. If you've got any comments for Alan, please do. I'm going to go through comments as well. Evening all you Reds. How you doing, Warren? And Albertus as well. He's from Canada. Shout out to Albertus from Canada. The whole off season will be told about Forest doing a Fulham. I would love to do a Fulham for a few years and keep stronger year after year. And we have a great foundation, 100%. 100% Albertus. Like I said, with Fulham, like I said, remember, and this is where because I am old. I remember the season when you started that time in the league. It was League Two, and I remember. I don't know if you remember him. Is it Jean Tigger, the French manager?
Jean Tigger, yeah. The old Division 1 he took us up.
Yes, old Division 1. And I remember the first season, you brought players like Van der Sar, Alan Gomez, you had Louis Shahar. I know he was in Championship as well before that. Mo Bronk, them kind of players, man. I think, and now as a Fulham fan, like I said, it's a weird situation. Like I said, from that and to now, you must be a proud Fulham fan to see how the growth has been.
Yeah, no, I'm 31, so I'm not as old as you, Mr. Dore.
I'm not that old. You get.
No, so I started going to the age of 3. So we was in League 2, which was the old Division 3 back then. So I've seen us climb the leagues. But when Mohamed Al-Fayed took over, we seemed to just change. He promised to make us Man United of the South, which, in my opinion, I think he did. He did a fantastic job for us. Seen likes of Tigana, and in sort of the last 20 odd years, some of the players we've had, as you mentioned, Saha, Malbronk, we've had Moussa Dembele, who went to Tottenham, one of the most underrated players in the Premier League's ever seen, in my opinion. We've had Berbatov, Van der Sar. We've had some quality players done. Yeah, we had Berbatov. Yeah.
Wow.
We had him for
what year was that?
A year and a half. That was just before we got relegated. So it must have been 2012.
I can't remember that.
2012 to 2014. But yeah, we had him. Yeah, we signed him on deadline day. It was in January, I think it was.
Bloody hell, I can't remember that.
Yeah,
wow.
But people call us a yo-yo club, and to be fair, we have been for the last 4 seasons. But what they don't seem to remember is the 13 seasons that we stayed straight in the Premier League. We got to the Europa League final and lost to Atletico Madrid in extra time. We, as I said, had some stars play for us. We've got to the FA Cup semi-final. We was there, and we never really struggled throughout these 13 years, mainly thanks to Roy Hodgson. But yeah, no, we aren't like a Norwich, because they are literally the yo-yo club. But hopefully now this season we're going to put a stop to all that.
Right, I've got a couple of questions for you, Alan. And this is the first one is from George Tune for Life. Question for Alan: the Newsstand opens up against Newcastle. Apparently, it costs £90 to do. Who do you think? You think that's expensive? Thanks in advance. £90. Talk to me, Alan.
So the Newstand, actually, the lower tier and upper tier. It's the first time we've ever had 2 tiers. And the lower tier opened at the beginning of the season, but they are opening up the upper tier now. And the adult ticket is actually £100.
£100?
Don't ask. And for juniors, it's £70. It's £70 for kids.
What?
It's an American thing, and I think Chelsea are experiencing it now. That a lot of Americans come over. They like to buy football clubs. Some of them don't know how to run it. The problem we've got is we're in such a good location that
a lot of
tourists. We're just gonna get a lot of tourists in the stand. It does look fantastic. I've not actually been in there yet. I'm loyal to my seat, so I won't be moving, especially not at those prices. But no, it is expensive, and the supporters' trust have relayed that back to the club. And the problem we've got is because we keep selling out, they're not in any position to go, well, why should we reduce the price? So don't get me wrong, as a season ticket holder, I only paid, I think it was £300 for the season. But yeah, you can get free match tickets in the newsstand instead of 19 league games. But it's extortionate. I don't agree with it. I'm not happy with it. But yeah, hopefully it will change.
I think that's like every club into it. Like I said, like this is Forest's first season. I think in the future the prices will go up. I think, like I said, it happens, and that's when you're a Premier League club, prices happen. But hopefully Forest don't do it. When they build their new main stand, well, not main stand, Pete Tiller stand. Hopefully that can do it. Right, next one. This is from Nick. Are you missing Nico Williams? Yes, you are. You can tell.
If I say no, I'll be lying. But I don't think he's as big of a miss as we may have expected, because Kenny Tete has been outstanding this season. And Williams actually took his place from January onwards. I would have liked to have signed him, but not at the price you paid for him. I think, for the price you paid for him, we signed Babu instead from Wolfsburg. You paid about 17 million for him, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we signed Babu for, I think it was 5 million. And Tete, in my opinion, is probably just as good. He's probably a better defender than Nico Williams, but Nico Williams offers you more going forward because he can shoot with both feet. He's a proper attacking wing-back, whereas Tete is probably more of a full-back come wing-back. So I'm not too disappointed that we never signed him, but I probably would have liked to have signed him as well at the same time. So it's one of those that I've seen him do well for you lot already. So no doubt he's going to score tomorrow. That's a bank. It always happens against us. But we'll already be 4-0 up by then, so it's all right. He can get him later.
I'm loving the confidence. We've got someone in the comments, and I think you might know this guy, Alan. Hi, Mr. Saw. This is Alan's dad. I reckon Forest will finish just below halfway. Also, don't take any nonsense from my boy. Laugh like Tar for letting him on. Can you respond to your dad there, Alan?
Well, my dad's currently in hospital awaiting open heart surgery. So just a shout out for him.
Shout out to Alan's dad. Yeah, people in the comments, give a shout out to Alan's dad, man. I know I spoke to you, and he said Alan's been going. Before you do go, Alan, tell everyone what you've been doing, about your dad.
He said he's been in hospital for the last sort of 10 days, near enough 2 weeks now. He's just awaiting open heart surgery. He's been a Fulham fan for 55, 56 years. he introduced me to Fulham along with my mum, who's also a Fulham fan. But yeah, I'll go and see him tomorrow before the game, and yeah, there's just a shout out to my dad. And
shout out to Alan. I hope you get better, mate. But I'm sorry to disappoint you, but Forest will win tomorrow. So Alan, all I can say, recovery quick, mate. And there's only comments. Show some love to Alan's dad as well, man. Right, 2 more questions, Alan. I think I've about answered this question. Do you think you'll survive? I think at the start of the season, like I said, I did say yourself and Bournemouth will go down. But what do you think? Do you think you can stay up? People in the comments as well, get involved. Do you think Fulham will stay up? Get involved, people. Alan, what do you think?
My heart says yes, but my head says not sure. And I think the not sure bit comes from the last 2 experiences we've had in the Premier League. The problem we've got is Marco Silva's teams, they tend to start off well in the Premier League, and then they sort of fade towards the end of the season. Now, the World Cup, again, coming back to that, it's going to either help us or it's not. I'm hoping the break that we have will sort of get the players going again for when they return. But no, I do think we'll stay up. I didn't actually envisage Forest sort of in a relegation battle. And I still don't I think you'll be fine. But I do expect us to finish above you.
Oh, that's the people in the comments. Do you agree with Alan? Do you think Fulham will stay up for Forest? Nah.
But look, we're both going to stay up. Bournemouth can go. Leicester will go.
Yeah, no one cares. I just don't know. No one cares about Leicester. I don't really care about Leicester. I hope
it's a difficult one because we're both sitting here now thinking, yeah, we're going to stay up. But can you think of 2 other teams apart from Bournemouth that you can see going down? It's tough.
You know what it is? Like I said, I know. Like I said, we last 3 games we've lost. Bournemouth game. I don't talk about the Bournemouth game. I don't think no one wants to talk about the Bournemouth game. It's going to be tough. We're in the Premier League, and it's going to be like for us. It's going to be more downs and ups. Like I said, we was both successful last season in the Championship, and it's going to be tough. But I still think it's okay saying on paper we've got a good squad.
If it was played on paper, you'd finish 9th.
No, we'll finish top.
At least top 10.
We'll finish top. That's wrong. We'll finish top.
How many beers have you had, though?
I'm on the Ribena. I'm on the Ribena. No, seriously, on serious note, like it's gonna be tough. And like on paper, we've got a great squad, but I think we can do it.
Need time for it to come together.
Yeah, like I said, I think you mentioned the World Cup season. It's going to be like that break is going to be massive.
Yeah,
it's going to be absolutely massive, that break. And I'm just, you know what? I think it's just good. Us two, like I said, we was talking about we was in the Championship last season, and now we're back in the Premier League. So it's amazing to know. Right, people in the comments, like I said, as you know, everyone's score prediction. I can see Dave in the background as well. Dave in the background. Dave will be on in 10 minutes. People soon. People get ready for Dave talkativeness, and as well, Dez will be on as well. People in the comments, what is your score prediction as well? And as you know, everyone, I'm not giving my score prediction till tomorrow. So people, if you see me, get your score predictions, getting on the vlog tomorrow. Alan, last but not least, what is your score prediction?
I'm going to say 3-1 Fulham. And I say that because I think Mitrovic is just in the form of his life. Your defence so far has been a bit, not shaky, but they can't be high in confidence at the minute. And the last player you want to play against, apart from Haaland, is probably Mitrovic at the minute.
No. Right. Let me clarify this, right? And people, and as well, if you want to watch the vlog, when we went to Fulham, Mitrovic, right? He is a great striker. You can't take off what he's done. But he is a modest striker when he doesn't get his own way. Like, I remember.
I wouldn't judge him on that Forest game, the second one.
Listen to me, Alan. Listen to me.
We never showed up, to be honest.
What?
Listen
to me. We had Cook. Cook had him in his back pocket. And I remember Scott McKenna. Every time Scott McKenna, like what defenders do, little tug, wind him up. Listen to me.
He's
And
changed his game now.
he moans to linesmen, especially the first half, consistently. And
There was a
this
few
what
elbows in the back.
listen to me.
And a
When
few.
we got a prick like Scott McKenna in that team, and if he does what he did to him last season, I personally think him and Wilson, if Wilson plays, keep them too quiet.
Wilson's injured. You don't have to worry about Wilson.
That's all right then.
Um,
As everyone knows, Wilson used to play for Derby, and everyone knows what Derby is. But
you do know Mitrovic is going to score a hat trick tomorrow now, don't you?
Not happening.
You've just said Worrell's going to put him in his back pocket. I tell you what, Mitrovic.
Either one or two, Worrell or McKenna will have him in a back pocket.
Do you know what the one player I do like for you lot is? That Lewis O'Brien from Huddersfield.
Good player.
Every time I've seen him play, he just looks class. Everything just looks effortless. I'm worried about him, but I think Paulinho will get in there early and put one on him.
I don't know if you know, like I said, people. I'll mention this when we get Dave and Dez on. We know that in the Cartier, not in the Cartier, Mangala. If Mangala plays, Paulinho won't have a sniff. So
you said this last time about Seri, and then Seri literally just dictated play, and then we won.
Listen, this is what I'm so frustrated because Syria, he actually hammered Forest at the City Ground.
Paulinho is going to do the same tomorrow.
I'm not having it, Alan. Alan, I'm not having it. I'm not having it, Alan. You can say much as you want. I'm not having it. But Alan, are you at the game tomorrow?
No, I'll be going to the hospital to see the old boy.
So you've been watching it. Like I said, all the best to you, Dad, and all the best to you. So I hope you have tears. People. But Alan, before you go, just tell everyone about. I know you got a little podcast, YouTube. Tell everyone about it.
So yes, I am a contributor for Hammy End. It's on the screen now at Hammy End on the Twitter handle. At the start of this season, I started doing the Green Pole podcast alongside a few others. So we're on Spotify, Apple. If you want to listen to our stuff, I said the podcast is called the Green Pole. I know you're coming on to do the match review on Saturday with me. So when we beat you, I'm sure we'll have a bit more fun. But no, as I said, we've only just started out, so we're still learning. But the next step is to do what you're doing now and doing fantastically well, Mr. Doore. I've followed your journey for the last few years. And your subscribers has gone from 3,000 to nearly 9,000 in a blink of an eye. And I wish you all the best because you do a great job. And I watch all your vlogs. They're brilliant.
Oh, respect. Hopefully you can watch tomorrow's vlog and see a Forest win at the City Ground, because I know, like I said, you hammered us. We
have a good record at the City Ground. The first time I went to Forest, we actually won 3-0 was when Tigana's first season.
Yeah, it was 3-0. Yes.
I was there for that one.
Yeah, I remember that game so well because I think especially the first half, we had you. But then the second half, I think you scored early in the second half and you just took the mick out of us. And I remember the players that said,
we're good at that when it comes. We're good at taking the mick in the second half against you. We did it last season and we did it that season as well. So hopefully
I don't know why I brought it up. Why did that bring me up? I'm just so stupid. What is that? But like Alan, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for the channel. And like I said, I appreciate that the love that you showed to the channel. And as well, people, please go. Like I said, if you've got spare time after the stream, go and watch the Hammered End with Alan and Co. But yeah, sorry, Alan. Thank you. Like I said, thank you very much for coming on.
No problem. Anytime.
Hopefully, some tears after the game. And like I said, I hope Fulham do well, man. But for me personally, I want you locked down. I'm not gonna lie. I want you locked down. But like Alan, these are all people show some love to Alan. And like I said, Alan, and as well, Alan's dad. I hope you get better, and I hope you got massive recovery as well, Alan. But yeah, thank you for coming on, Alan. Peace and love, my friend.
Take care.
Cheers, dude. All right, so that's Alan. Thank you, like I said, for kind words about my channel. But yeah, people, like I said, as you know, like I said, I've not been on for quite a while, and there's been quite a lot of voice talk, but I've got the main two coming on in any minute now, Dave and Dez. Dez will be a little bit late. I think I'll wait. I'll wait till Des comes on and we'll bring both on. I've got a super chat as well from Kieran. Thank you for £4.49, Kieran. You always shows me love as well to the channel. So Kieran, I will get Kieran on as well because he's a member. So he's been a member for quite a while as well, Kieran. So I will going to get you on. So his comment says, Mr. Door, the special guests are here while you're late. It's going to help us. Dave put it a super dude, little special, especially Dave. Thank you for the love, Kieran. You know the rules. Don't show them true love. This is from Dave. Why is everyone showing Dave some love? He's not been here. Why is everyone showing him love? It's not right. It's all wrong. Stop showing Dave love now. I'm joking. People show as well. People, there's 94 people. People show some love to Dave and Dez. They'll be on in a minute now. I'm just waiting for Duke Daily because Dez has said he'll be a bit late. So I'll wait for a little bit to roll as well. I'm just like, there's so much topics that we're going to talk about with boys. Like I said, 3 defeats in a row. A lot of talk about Steve Cooper being linked with Brighton as well. Shout out to Dean Henson as well for the call up to Nottingham Forest, to the England as well. Brennan Johnson, Nico Williams, Wayne Hensey back in the Wales team. And yeah, it's all positive. Like I said, it's going to be. People need to be patient. People got to be patient, but like it's going to be a long season. And yes, I know. Like I said, we could talk about Bournemouth game. It wasn't great, but it was. We're in the Premier League, and I was speaking to a few Forest fans as well. Like it's going to be more down seasons than up. So Forest fans, we're going to take advantage of this. So Forest fans, just be patient. Or you're going to be patient as well. People, like I said, if you are new to a channel, if you can do a massive favor for me, please do hit like button. I'm on 32 likes. If you can get me to 100 likes before the stream ends. Right. Before like I said, get Dave on, like I said, people show some love to Dave. Dez will be not here yet, so I'm gonna wait till Dez comes on. Before I'm gonna get through the comments as well. Even Claire, look what Even Claire says Dave on tour. Why is everyone showing Dave on tour? This is absolutely disgraceful. Disgraceful. As well, Wolverine. How you doing, Wolverine? Peace and love as well. As I saw some of those comments as well, people, and the reason Forest is not on TV because there's a cricket final at Trent Bridge. So this is the reason Forest play tomorrow. It's on Friday, so it's not on BT Sport. It's not on Sky. It'll be on the Forest. It's on the Forest channel. So if you can't go to the game, go on the Forest channel. I think it's I don't know how much it is. So, but yeah, people in the comments, are you going to the game? Are you excited? And as well, get your comments in as well, people. Right. There's not here, but I'm going to bring the man on. People show some love to the man himself, Dave. Sorry, Dave, I know you've been waiting for long. So people in the comments show some love to Dave. Here he comes. How do, Dave?
Yeah, good, mate. I was my bum was get a bit pins and needles. I've been sitting here a while, mate. But can I just say, Ben, how good your guest Alan was, and his story resonated with me a bit because my own father went through open heart surgery many years ago. So he was a terrific guest. He spoke very sensibly, and I just want to send my love and understanding to him and his dad, because I know I went through it. My dad had open heart surgery 24 years ago, and the old bugger's still here with us now. So he's not well, but he's still here, and he's still funny, and he's still my dad. So I hope Alan gets to enjoy many more happy times with his dad. You know, not tomorrow night though. Obviously, we don't want him to be, like you said, Ben. We want him to have some tears tomorrow night.
100%. So people in the comments, I know everyone loves Dave, so I thought I'd come on the channel. We'll just wait for Dave, but Dave, let's start. Like I said, it's been a tough. I won't say it's a tough. I think that's a bit stupid. Reality check. With Forest, like I said, we're back in the Premier League. It's 3 defeats in a row. Like I said, Man City and Spurs, we expect defeats. Bournemouth. So that was a tough game to talk about, but we've got Fulham tomorrow. Another tough game. What's your thoughts on and as well? People in the comments get involved as well. What's your thoughts on what's been happening and the vibe as well?
to be honest with you, Ben, I think as you've just alluded to, there are going to be downtimes. There are going to be tough times. We're going to go through some runs of defeats. We've just kind of gone through the first one. I think, Tottenham and Manchester City, if you're being objective, which is often difficult, given how much we love our club, then you would have looked at Tottenham and Manchester City as like, they're going to be very difficult to win those games. Then Bournemouth, obviously, because you contrast it with the two games that have gone previously, you look at that as, well, that's an opportunity because, if you like, that's a team within our own little league.
Dave, so we can't pause because the guy, there's a guy in the backstage who wants to come on. Shall I let him on?
Get him on, mate. Get him on.
People in the comments, give some grief to Des for being late. I gave him the time, and now people in the comments give this guy some grief.
Yeah.
What time do you call this?
Well, it would have prepared a link to join. Maybe 5 minutes ago, if I'd have had a link.
You're actually disgraced because after that you're getting the bottom. You're actually disgraceful. People in the comments get at Des for being late.
What kind of leak, Des?
Pardon?
What, Dave?
What kind of leak was it, Des?
Des, how are you, Des?
I'm good, thank you. Apologies for being a little bit late. Prime engagement, important business meeting. So there you go.
Right. Sorry, Dave, for cutting you off, but can everyone see that top you've got? I saw it on Facebook. Can everyone see it?
1 second.
I don't even know. Like he's got something special, and I'm jealous. I'm so jealous of what he's got. I am
absolutely the cat that's got the cream.
As everyone knows, we talk about Morgan Gibbs White, and Mr. Des Do Daily has got something that everyone see. So look what he's got. This is what Des has got. Morgan Gibbs White shirt that he wore for the Spurs game. So wow. And he's got all the signatures as well. I'm jealous.
Do you know this one in the middle? This one in the middle was why it took so long to get to me. Just here.
Who's that?
Stevie Cooper.
What a legend.
Fantastic, mate.
A legend. Oh, that's a clap. Well done.
Honestly, that little gift today, that little gift nearly reduced me to tears. It was incredible. You guys know how much I love Morgan Gibbs White.
Oh, this guy. And as well, people, and I did say to I've got a treat for Des as well. So, but I will show Des later on. It's part K knows. K, if you're watching, don't tell him. I will tell him later on. Des, we're talking about, like I said, it's been Dave was talking about the 3 games that we played, like the 3 defeats. So Dave, carry on what you were saying, so Des knows what I was talking about.
Yeah, what I was saying, Des, while you were dealing with your leak and fondling your Morgan Gibbs White shirt, rather like the way Kay cuddled Stan the puppy the other week, which I still brings a tear to my eye. We were talking about the fact that we were going to have like some tough runs in the league, and obviously, prior to the games, we looked at Tottenham and Manchester City as being tough, and then looking at Bournemouth as an opportunity to pick up some points, but obviously that didn't happen, and the nature of that defeat was so, for me, irritating, because when you've got them where you want them and they wriggle away, or to be fair, let's give Bournemouth some credit. They were the much the better side second half and probably deserved it. And I think I could see it coming once Billing had scored and Forest just became static and didn't really do anything. It was a really tough defeat to take. So it's just a case of as a lot of people said, we would just enjoy the ride and we'd be able to take the tough times with the good times and treat them equally. I'm not sure everybody's done that, but now that my irritation has abated, mainly thanks to your wedding, Des, which was such a brilliant do, mate. Thank you so much. If I'd not gone to that wedding that night, I'd have probably took myself in the Trent. I actually thought about chucking myself off Trent Bridge, but I think I've had time to calm down, and I think we've still got plenty of the season to go. I don't think it's a time for hysteria and everything's awful and chucking babies out with bathwater or into the Trent. So, I think, we studied. I think maybe the break has helped. I don't know. I'm a bit ambivalent about that. I personally would have liked us to get back on the horse quick and gone to Leeds, but maybe the other side of that is they've had time on the training ground to get these unfamiliar faces more familiar with each other. I mean, obviously we won't know until the whistle goes tomorrow night and we get into this game with Fulham, which is a big game.
100%. As we know, I think it's like I said. You mentioned it, Dave, about these players, and the player. I think everyone's so excited. I know we know what Steve Cooper's like. We mentioned Mangala, and he likes to play with the media sometimes. And people in the comments, and I'm going to ask you, Des, do you think Mangala will play tomorrow? Do you think Cooper's playing that Cooper games again?
Possibly. There's talk of it, isn't there? I don't think there'd have been much talk beforehand if he wasn't going to feature. But it's kind of built up to a point, and then all of a sudden, we've just got temper expectations, haven't we? We've got a player coming back from injury. We've got to realise that we might not come back firing on all cylinders. So I think again, Cooper's just being professional, more than playing games. We know how it works with these things, being Forest fans last year, but I think it's just a case of waiting and see, wait to see, and then hopefully he will, because we know what sort of impact he can make. We're all sort of remembering back to the Everton game, and since then it's been tough, hasn't it? It's been really tough, but it's something we've had to deal with, and hopefully he can slot back in. What I think is more important over the next couple of weeks, and I was listening to Dave talk there, and obviously we've had what feels like forever now to mull over 3 defeats on the spin. I think it's important now to start trying to find a settled team, isn't it? Yeah. It's a little bit in the Premier League. It's ruthless. So when you're chopping and changing and doing this and this, and of course there'll be times when that's necessary in 1 or 2 positions. But over the course of a season, and the fact that we know we've had to significantly improve, there's no doubt about that. You look at the back line. When I did, not putting it on purpose, but when I did dial in with Dez 2 weeks ago, before looking at the Leeds game, all the questions seemed to be, questions aimed at me, who do I think would start the Leeds game at the back? And I kind of said 1 or 2 might, but we've seen another, on top of Bolly, we've seen Bardet, and these players have now had a chance to settle in. I don't think the Leeds game getting called off was the worst thing.
No.
Whilst we'd have all loved to have been there and gone and carried on the journey, I don't think it was the worst thing for Forest. It's give players who have not been playing the chance to get back, get fit. And I think one thing that the Bournemouth game shows more than anything, I hate to criticise, was perhaps a lack of fitness. Losing a lead at home shows a little bit of naivety. There's no Cooper's made no bones about that. There's no issue. Of course it does. You 2-0 up, you manage the game out. But again, in the Premier League, with the pace of it, and even though it's Bournemouth, because that's how we was all looking at it, wasn't it? This is winnable because it's Bournemouth. It's still a Premier League team. They're still in the same place as all the other teams. And I think we came up a little bit short without watching it. Don't get me wrong. I'm just. It almost suggests that the team was lacking a little bit of fitness. We see by the players that have gone out, the ones that have come in, the ones that have been injured. We haven't finished games particularly well, have we? The Everton game we conceded late. Newcastle even, whilst of course we was under the cosh, we conceded late. Bournemouth, we conceded late goals. So I think again, just to work on getting up to pace, getting a few injuries back, getting the best players, and almost in the next 5 games, perhaps before the international break especially, the World Cup break, definitely. I know the international break's next week, but over the next period of games, I think Forest need to settle on a team that they know. We know Cooper, when it's going well, will play the same team week in, week out. That's what happened last season. Players found form, found positions, and he went with it, and it was great for consistency. And I think this season we're just struggling to find it. It's understandable, And again, I kind of sort of go back to what Dave said about people losing their heads a little bit. We've all said we're not going to lose our heads. We're going to be positive. We're going to have the ride of our life. I'm having the ride of my life. I absolutely love it. I'm dialing with Dez. I keep saying, come on, let's get behind the boys, because ultimately, if you think we're going to stay up, if you think we've got a chance, that's what you've got to do, isn't it? You've got to get behind them and believe in it. And once we believe in it, once they pick up a couple of results, once we get that first team on the pitch, firing on all cylinders, and then players chomping at the bit to be part of it, I think we'll be all right. And that's where I kind of maintain my stance on what's been said so far. But going back to your initial thing, I think it's so important with Mangala, for example. We'd like to see Niakate back, but I don't know how long he's out for. I'd imagine it's a good few weeks yet. Because
he'll be back tomorrow, Des. He'll be back tomorrow. He'll be surprised on the bench for you know what Cooper's like.
But getting Mangala in, is a massive step, isn't it? Because in any game you need to manage out, you need your midfield to really stand up to it. And in that Bournemouth game, without seeing it, we all know why. We all know the reasons. It's one of those things where you think that's what wins you the game sometimes when you're 2-0 up.
100%. There's 123 people in. Thank you very much. I think since these two come on, the views gone up now. So I'm sick of tired of it. I'm sick of tired of these two. People showing love to Des and Dave as well. Des has got a channel, could do daily. And if you do want to subscribe to his channel, the link's in the description as well, people. So make sure everyone to subscribe. Right, another topic, and I think that Des is not going to be a happy bunny here. 25-man squad came out yesterday. You see Des's face; he's not a happy bunny about it. But there's a few players that's not been in the squad. People are happy about it. A few people are sad. We know Cafu, he's not in the 25-man squad. People in the comments, what do you think? Are you happy about Cafu not being in the team? We know about Lyle Taylor as well, but it's been the Premier League. And Dave, what's your opinion on it?
Not massively surprised, to be honest. I'm not surprised with Lyle. I think Lyle's goose was cooked. Much as I like the guy, and I think he's a good guy, he's been, for me, based on what he did at Charlton when he came here. Charlton beat us 1-0 2 or 3 years ago, and he basically just dominated the whole game. Actually, 4 days after we'd beaten Leeds, or 3 days after we'd beaten Leeds, in a high-profile game. So we all came into that game with a lot of positivity and hope. And Lyle Taylor was the man of the match. Charlton beat us 1-0. I know Sabri at the time made some changes, which were puzzling. So based on that, I was kind of like, "Whoa, this guy could be great for us." And apart from the odd moment here and there, Lyle just hasn't been, for me, as good as I would have hoped him. So I don't think Lyle's I think he was done after the Notts County friendly. I thought that a lot of Steve's ire that night was directed in his, towards him and maybe a couple of others. Cafu, I mean,
it's a weird one, isn't it?
He's a cult hero and he's a great lad. I think he's been fantastic in terms of team spirit.
Team spirit is the main thing, isn't it?
You often get guys who are like, on the periphery and are not always going to get game time. And a lot of the time, I'd imagine the majority of the time, those guys are going to feel hard done by, put out, and liable to have a bit of a sulk here and there. Cafu has done no such thing. Cafu has been a tremendous guy for the team spirit. I think he's been tremendous, around the club. He's like, supported everything that's been done. Sadly, I just don't think, he's gone so far down the pecking order that I wasn't entirely surprised. I'm sure there are some who will have their own views and think that Cafu should be in instead of, say, Jack.
And that's what I want to.
But I just think Jack, for some people, is just a bit of an easy target. Jack's got a lot more experience of the Premier League. And I think if Jack's not, Jack's not playing, Jack still brings a wealth of experience and knowledge, having played at Newcastle and Sunderland in the Premier League. So I think that's why Jack's in. I don't think Jack's going to get much game time either. But so not overly surprised with it. It's unfortunately, like Steve said on his presser, it's just the nature of the job. I mean, I've run teams myself in the past, and there's nothing worse than when you've got to select, say, 16 and you've got 20 all desperate to play. But it's just the nature of it. And it's a ruthless business. And Steve got to his 25. So I'm not overly surprised. Sad in a way about Cafu, because I just think he's a genuinely likable character. And Dez's sort of affection and fondness for Cafu, I absolutely share. But
don't get Dez going. This one
it's such an emotional time for Dez at the moment in so many ways, and there's me adding to it. So I apologise, Dez, but the only question I've got, right, is where's Harry Arter? What's he doing? You know what I mean? Right. What is all about?
Get out.
Get Harry Arter. Right. We don't know. Right, I'm going to ask Des, right, and the thing about Cafu, and we've got to praise Cafu, because, like I said, we used to moan about Olympiacos players coming to Forest. I've seen, like I said, I'm looking at the comments, and I've got some, like, not just Des loves Cafu, we've got Anthony who likes Cafu, we've got Kelly who likes Cafu as well. This Wolverine as well, I'm going to talk to Des about this, how to go back, get ahead of Cafu in this, and as well from Dylan, Jack is magic. He does his job. You know what you get from him. Des, what's your situation like? You love Cafu, but in a football mind situation, like I said, me personally, I love Cafu. Cafu always shows me the respect as well on social media. He always gives me stick. But Premier League, like I said, we've got. I love Cafu, and people don't. I'm not trying to disrespect Cafu at all. We've got better players in. Jack Colback, and me personally, Jack Colback has got Premier League experience. He's not going to get game time as much as we like to. What's your opinion about it, Des? Like I said, about people saying Cafu should have got Colback, and as well people getting in the comments as well. Des, what do you think?
I think the first thing to mention, and it is important, but I'll come back to that point, though, definitely in a minute, because I've definitely got an opinion on that. But I think the first thing to mention with Cafu and Lyle Taylor, to a big degree, is I don't think they ever let Forest down. They come in a time when there was lots of upheaval. You talk about the Olympiacos signings, players coming in from abroad, and sort of what are the actual reasons for them being here, and are they going to even play and get settled in? And I think the key thing with them both was they took Forest on board. They didn't take us for granted, and that's why I like both of them. For Taylor, it didn't work. Purely based on formations and what managers were expecting of him. When Dave mentioned the game against Charlton, there was actually 2 games against Charlton that season. Went to the away game, and he played exactly the same as he did in the game after that Leeds game.
True,
and I thought we got one hell of a signing, but just didn't play to his strengths. And sometimes you just got to put your hand up and go. I think Taylor's done this to some degree. He's been admirable. We all know what kind of guy he is. He's I wouldn't say outspoken, but he speaks his mind. And I like that honesty about him, and I like the honesty about Cafu. Cafu's slightly different in the sense that I felt he came into the team and his performances never let Forest down. Even when we was playing under Chris Hughton, even when he was asked to play number 10 or holding midfield, or he didn't know quite where to play him in midfield, I just felt there was something there with him. I saw something. And I don't know what it was, because there wasn't much to give from that team. There wasn't much to sort of write home about. But I just saw something. And then when Cooper came in, I thought, again, Cafu, I've used this term many times about him, he was a horse for a course. in that Swansea game when he came on, I'd noticed it over a few games before. That was where it really sparked for me. We were trying to protect the lead. We were conceding a lot of possession, and he come on and he kept that ball and the conditions were tricky. Yes, he scored the goal, so that makes a difference. But like I say, I was shouting his name before that, saying this guy's got something. And you guys saw that around me. I was saying he keeps the ball better than a lot of the players do in the Championship. So whilst he did that, I totally understand the situation now as well, because he kept the ball in the Championship when players were giving it away. Is he creative enough for the Premier League? I don't think so. And I think I've mentioned it in previous shows. Kouyaté, for example, might be the new Cafu. He might be that finisher, that guy who's going to break things up, keep hold of the ball, get his head up, restore a bit of calm, towards the end of games and to sort of manage games out. And I think that's why he might find himself in the position he has right now, in sort of out of that squad. Both of the guys, I wouldn't say they can feel unlucky, because it's all about who we've got and where we are at this present situation. But they've not disgraced Forest or themselves in any way whatsoever. So personally, you've got to kind of look back at some point and go, thank you. Thank you for sort of not disrespecting the club. We've seen it from too many over the last couple of years. Everyone's banged on about Carvalho for years. I'd have either of those two over what Carvalho done and respect what they've done.
Cafu, like everyone banged on about Cafu, but Carvalho being number 10. Cafu was more effective than Carvalho. Simple as that.
Yeah,
absolutely, Dawn. That's what I'm saying. Whilst he didn't, in that poor team especially, whilst he didn't pull up any trees, whilst he didn't score lots of goals, create lots of chances, nobody did. But I saw enough in him to think this is a tidy footballer. So when he was playing in a good side, when it was important to see games out, there were still probably slightly better players in front of him. He still had a role to play, and I think Steve Cooper saw that early on, and that's why we all grew to love him in the end and grew to respect what he did. Great guy around the changing room. But getting back to your main point about what you asked me about Jack Colback and Cafu, those two players are two that I've been the massive fans of in the last couple of years. Colback, you hit the nail on the head, door. Colback will play and will be in the squad because he's got Premier League experience. And to be honest, he's come back and he's looked super fit. I think it was the City game, wasn't it? He came on. He looked really sharp. All the injured players coming back, for me, have looked really sharp. And even Taiwo, when he's been out of the team, he's come on and he's looked sharp. So I've liked that about Colback, because I was the first one. As much as I've been a fan, as much as I think he was the best left back we had last year, he was the best centre midfielder we had last year. And we lost something by having him at left back, but we gained a better left back than any full timer. I think I was the first one to write him off a little bit, saying we need to improve in that position. He played at Newcastle. He'd come down the levels to be at Forest. Let's be realistic. That's what happened. It wasn't a case of we stole a player from the Premier League. He wasn't getting a game. He wasn't getting a sniffing. Nobody else really looked out for him. We took him, and I love what he does. He's Mr. Consistent. He's brilliant at his job. But I've seen a little bit more. More than I expected. So I've got no qualms about Colback being in the squad ahead of Cafu, because, like you say, he offers that little bit more. And in Cafu's sort of role, we've got Kouyaté, somebody again who's going to keep the ball, finish games off. Mangala come in, all not exactly the same players, but not too dissimilar. We know what Colback is. Colback's almost him and Lewis O'Brien. They're the same sort of player, aren't they? So you've got like for like there, and then you've got Mangala and Kouyaté and Foyer and all these players. So I've got no problem with that. Although I love both the guys. You know how much I love Cafu. If I could have
this is why I got this on.
Anyone else, it would have been Cafu.
Des, let me just your point about Cafu at Swansea is a great one because I mean that was a belting day it was a belting day for us on a really horrible wet day. And Cafu, the game's done and dusted, but there's Cafu scored and celebrating as if he'd scored a World Cup winner. I thought it was a great moment. But actually, that goal was all the work of Lyle and Cafu, because Lyle, I think, got the ball down the right-hand side. And he squared it or pulled it back for Cafu. And I think, for both of them, you're absolutely right. Neither of them disrespected the football club or let anybody down, and I think they've left us with some great moments. I mean, how can we forget Lyle's wonderful interplay with Jordan Storey in the Preston game last year, where he did the crybaby act? I mean, that will live with me forever. And telling him to
no, Dave, just sit your way, Dave.
I think the reason we're talking about them, Dave, is because they're both characters, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Real characters. I think Lyle.
We love Joe Lolly, for example, and again, he's on that list of my favorite Forest players of the last few years. But he hasn't got the same character as those two. He's not got that charisma, and they've got that charisma that in life sometimes takes you a long way. And when you come into a football match, and even if it's not going for you, Lyle Taylor, he's upsetting people. The Bristol game, he's pushing people over. Yeah. All I've ever seen him do in reality was give away free kick. But he's upsetting someone.
Yeah, and as you say, mate, I think us three have talked and lots of other guests have been on here. And I think as a Forest family, I think we all look at that Bristol City game as a real threshold in the club's history, the club's recent history. In that, we played well, we're 1-0 down, we're into injury time. And, Lyle's cameo, even if he never does anything else, Lyle's cameo that night might have set us on the course to where we are now. So, there's lots to be thankful for Lyle Taylor and Cafu. And I think, if they ever come back to the city, if they go somewhere else and they come back to the City Ground, I'm sure they'll be both afforded a warm reception and they'll deserve it. I think they've been, your point's a great one about them being really good servants to the club, but obviously the club's moving on and it's having to move on. And this is where the other point you made earlier, which is to me is the key one. It's about finding this settled 11. And I think, I was on a podcast last night with somebody, some other lads, and I said, it's going to take a lot of time. I actually think Steve Cooper's job at the moment is the hardest of any of the 20 managers. Brendan Rodgers has got a tough job because they're bottom, they're below us. But, Steve's got to work out from this huge shopping trolley of human beings, which are his best 11. And I think it's not going to be done overnight. It might not even be done until after the World Cup, So we've got a really, really tough job. I think we're an unknown quantity to ourselves. And until we address that situation, and we, all through last season, Steve talked about culture and identity, and he was hot on those topics. Those were his mantras. And very, very quickly, I think helped by Stephen Reid and Warren Joyce in that game at Huddersfield, where Steve must have been watching, thought, here's a nice framework to work with. Forest very, very quickly assumed a culture and identity that then carried them to promotion. Obviously, having done that, the culture's had to change again and had to evolve. And actually, it's been an evolution at the speed of a revolution, which is it's a very difficult situation to sort of coordinate. And I think, going into tomorrow night, if you said to Steve Cooper, my guess is, Steve, the 11 that goes out against Fulham tomorrow night, are you utterly convinced that is your strongest 11 that you will settle on? And my guess is he'll say, you know what, I'm still finding out myself. The worrying thing is that while we're trying to find that identity, well, I was going to say the games are coming thick and fast, but we've had a break. This one sort of sits, in isolation, if you like, and then we get another break. So there is a bit of time to take stock after tomorrow night. But then thereafter, we will very quickly go Leicester, Villa, Wolves, Brighton, Liverpool, Arsenal, Brentford, Palace to the World Cup. And if he's still struggling to find his best 11, then my worry is that we could find ourselves with a little bit more to do in that bigger chunk of the season than we really would like. But I just think, unfortunately, it is what it is, and it is where we are. I can't change it. The only people who can change it are Steve, Tatey, Andy Reid, Jamie Robinson, and the players. And my view is I trust Steve. He's probably going to make some mistakes. I don't think he was great at times in the Bournemouth game. I think Gary O'Neill, for me, outcoached him second half. But Steve was the first to come on afterwards and say, "Tell you what, it starts with me." I would have been more unhappy if a guy after that had come on and said, "No, it's nothing to do with me. It was because this referee did something." You get a lot of managers come on and blame a referee or blame something else. Steve Cooper came on and he went, "You know what? The book stops with me. I'm happy to take it when it's going well. I've got to take it when it's going bad." And that's what I really like about Steve. And I watched his press conference again tonight, and it seems to me from what he only mentioned the Bournemouth game in passing. He's already put it behind him. And I think that's one of his great qualities. It's always, what's next? So I do think we are going to have to be patient, and we're going to have to suffer. But you know what? We've suffered in the past. We suffered for 23 years and we got there in the end. So, we've become battle hardened to suffering, but I think it's going to happen for a while yet.
100%. I was just on a poll on who's better, Cafu or Colback. 55 people says Colback and 44 say Cafu. So, but yeah, people, that's a short poll.
Do you know what, Ben? Des might agree with me. I don't know. Don't know what Des will think. Des has always got good ideas about things. I actually think.
No, he hasn't. Don't praise Des. No, he hasn't.
And the 25. I read what happened was there were 24 names, and then like that last decision, possibly between Jack and Cafu. I think there might have been some agonising over that. I don't know. That to me, I think would have been the last sort of which of these do we go with, and I think that would have been a really difficult decision.
100%. There's 130 people. Thank you for everyone that has taken time. It's getting a bit late. Before I do, like I said, watch out for my Twitter because I've done a surprise for Mr. Do Daily. I've told Kay as well, so you might enjoy it.
Now.
No, don't get worried. Malcolm and Craig have seen it. So because I texted Des didn't respond to me, so I thought, you know what? Watch out for the Twitter. Ted, shall I send you it before I put it on Twitter? Or
you tell me.
You might enjoy it. You might enjoy it, people. So people,
can I have a look now?
Can I just make a point on what Dave said there? Because
go on, Des.
Wind up, and I was going to wait patiently, but I thought I've got to. Do you know when it comes to team selection, there's so much going on there, isn't there? Do you know, I'm gonna throw one out there, and I think I'll probably talk to you about it in a few games, Dore, and the people around me on the way home. Do you know, there's this big thing at the minute in there about the number 9. Do you know, that number 9, we've watched Kane do his thing. We've watched Haaland do his thing. Yes, they're off the scale kind of characters and players. But do you know what I think Forest need to do at the moment is play number 9. And for me, that means playing Tyro.
Yeah.
I understand that some people might think he's not up to scratch. You know, who am I to second guess what Steve Cooper's thinking? But I think to get back on side, you know, it's perhaps showing a little bit of naivety. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't want to drop any of those forward players, you know, in place of him. But I think he's come on and done such a good job, you know, when he's come on in really, really, really tough circumstances. We know the ball might not stick, you know, sometimes when it goes up there. We've seen it in the West Ham game. But sometimes with strikers, there's an ungainly way of scoring goals. And sometimes it just works, you know. And I think what I'd like to see is perhaps for 4 games, you know, Tyro get a run. Because I think we need that focal point in the team. What's kind of missing at the moment is the fact that there isn't, you know, I love Brennan Johnson. I think he's been brilliant. Whatever people say, right, they know nothing. You know, if they think Brennan Johnson hasn't been good in the Premier League, they're missing something because he's finished brilliantly well. You know, he led the line against Spurs brilliantly well. You know, the tough game as well. So and he could have had one or two more, the West Ham offside and that kind of thing. So he's been brilliant, but I just like to see Taiwo with Brennan on one side, Morgan Gibbs-White on the other. And if it doesn't work, you go back to the drawing board. And I know we're talking about trying to settle a team down and things like that and find your best 11. But it's like the team's not got that focal point. And I think every team that's going to do okay and even just stay up, Bournemouth are going to rely on Solanke, Kiefer Moore, players like that to keep them up. I think we need that player. And I think there's something in there. Again, I was having this conversation a year ago about Cafu, and everyone was calling me an idiot and you don't know what he's talking about and whatever.
No idiot does.
But I can see something. I'll take that door. See something in him. When he come on, the best chance of the game, and people have been saying Colback's not good enough and this and that. Colback gets down the wing, Taiwo flashes one by. On another day, with confidence, with another couple of goals in him, with faith, because sometimes that's what it takes. We've all played football, and when you get dropped, it's the worst thing in the world. You lose all that confidence. With a little bit of faith, he might stick his head on that. He might go straight down the centre of the goal, and it's not going to make a difference in that particular game. But for me, I just feel there needs to be that focal point, and if it doesn't work, you hold your hands up, you go, I've given him a try, it's not worked, it's not good enough, we move on. We go back to trying to find a way with Johnson, Gibbs-White, Lingard, etc. But for me, when it comes to looking at that kind of thing, look tomorrow, Mitrovic is going to run the show. Whatever the result of the game tomorrow, Mitrovic is going to have that ball. He's going to have it on the halfway line. He's going to have it in the. He is an out-and-out number 9, but he's also a number 10. He does a bit of everything. He's a beast of a player, and he's shown that last year. Even when we played quite well against them, when we won the game, on another day he could have had 2 or 3 goals in that game. So I think it's so important to have that focal point within the team, and I think. If we had that, somebody goal hanging, is a term we used to use growing up, I think it would make a little bit of a difference. But there you go, that's my opinion.
I'd agree with that, Des. I think that it was a nice, it looked all right when it was like Brennan, Morgan, and Jesse at Everton, and then I think Yatesy coming on that day helped. But I'm with you, mate. I think we need some physical presence at the very least, and you took words out of my mouth, which, given how fast my mouth moves, is quite a feat in itself. In that, we're talking about the ultimate example of it tomorrow night, where the most crucial element of tomorrow night's game is one player for them, because he's so, where Fulham have done really, really well this time, and I think Marco Silva deserves a huge amount of credit, is that they've turned around this trend that everybody trotted out, and with good reason, because there was evidence for it, of, Mitrovic can do it in the Championship, but he can't do it in the Premier League. Well, I think whatever Marco Silva has, added to his diet or said to him, Mitrovic has been a completely different Premier League animal this time to what he has been the times before when Fulham have been up. So, I think Forest needs some kind of physical presence. Now, Taiwo was bought with that very much in mind. He's a project. I mean, all of this is a project. It's not going to happen. You don't get instant success. Trevor Francis was an instant success in many ways because he, came in on European Cup, but that is a rarity. Players need time. They need to kind of go through some trials and tribulations before they get there. And I think what you say is dead right. Give Taiwo a run. And then if he isn't good enough, or if Steve deems him not to be good enough, then you fetch him out and you try something different. But I do think that Forest need more of a physical presence against, I guess it's Ream and Tozin tomorrow night, whoever.
Yeah.
To kind of make it difficult for them. You know what I mean?
If I can just say on that, Dave, I implicitly trust Steve Cooper and what he does on the field. But on this one, I just think that, yes, he's not there to please the fans all the time. You know, he does that in different ways, and his team selections aren't to please the fans. But whilst ever we're not scoring goals, whilst ever we're not winning games, that's always going to be thrown back. That's always going to be sort of thrown back in his face. We've not got a number 9. We've not got this. You've gone out and signed a guy for 17 million, and you don't play him. You know, whoever signed him. You know, well, and we know how these things work these days. It's not always the manager who has first choice or whatever. So whoever, but I just think whilst he's not in the team, there's always going to be question marks if we're not winning football matches. And I think, yeah, if he plays the 3 that played against Spurs and we go out and win, well, in the Bournemouth game, if we'd have gone on and won 2-0 in that game after what he played, we couldn't say anything, could we?
No.
It's always going to be thrown back. And I think if you look around the Premier League, you know, every team, even Everton, someone who's struggling, they can't function without Calvert-Lewin. You know, he's so important to that team. And it's that number 9 all the time that makes the real difference. They always say strikers are there they're paid the big bucks because they score the goals. You know, that's the reality, isn't it? You can have the best defence in the world, but if you draw 38 games, you're in a relegation battle, aren't you? And it's that kind of thing. I'm not saying that's where we're at as a team, but do you see my point there? And I just think, I think until we have that number 9, even if it was Surridge, you know, who we all love and grown to love and think he does a great job in what he does, you know, even if Taiwo only lasts 60 minutes and it's the Davis Surridge scenario again where someone comes in to pick up, I just think you've got to have that. You've got to have that in a lot of games to prove that you're giving it a real go.
Yeah, and on Taiwo, you'd like to think. I think I saw this week he's just achieved his degree. He's a bright lad. So, you know, that will put him in a good mood, and that may be, you know, because I'm a believer in mood and psychology and all this kind of stuff. That might help Taiwo to settle and sort of come on. So it might give him a boost. It's probably a cosmetic thing, but I did notice though, Union Berlin are top of the Bundesliga.
They are. They're a good side. They're a good side, Dave. When Forest played them, they're friendly, but they're good side, good supporters as well. When I went over to Germany, and good. Right, boys. Bloody hell, we're hour 23 minutes. This is when you have Dave and Dez on. Dave can talk and talk. I can just do this.
Earlier, I might have to go off.
This is why I've got them both on. And I never do previous shows with Forest fans, but I thought we've not been on them for quite a while, so I thought I'd get the 2 legends on. Right, people coming forward to go. Get your score predictions in. Des and Dave, do you want to do your score prediction or do you want to wait?
I'm gonna go.
Wait.
It's tough. Do you know? I think this game, and I'll try not to ramble on a la normal Asprey mode. Des smiling there down below. I think this is a game where it's more about physicality than it is about blinding pace, which has been our Achilles heel, I think, and may well still be our Achilles heel for a while. But I think the fact that it's Mitrovic, if you go back to early May, I think it was, or late April at Craven Cottage, Joe and Scotty and Cookie played, I think, in that game, did a tremendous job with Mitrovic and made him Mardy, as you said to Alan earlier, Ben, and wound him up. I think that they will probably enjoy more a physical battle against Mitrovic, probably with Pereira in behind, Polinia, Dickard over Reed, I think will probably play. So Neeskens, Cabano. So these are guys. I mean, the thing about Fulham is, interestingly, they've having signed all those players and like did a Fulham. Now they've kind of relatively kept the team that got them up, whereas it's us now that have done that. But I'm going for us to win 1-0. I think it won't be pretty, but I think we'll win 1-0. And it might be, you know, Forest just need. The good thing about Forest after last season was like Cardiff, awful, bounce back with the win. Luton kicking the teeth, bounced back with a win. There were other times where we played poorly. Once Steve got his feet under the table, where we played poorly and got a win. And I think I'm going to be really positive and say we'll win tomorrow night. But I don't think you'll see. It'll probably be 4-4 now or something stupid. But I think it'll be a gritty 1-0 win. And in the circumstances, that will do Forest a lot of good.
Yeah.
And especially with a couple of weeks to kind of pontificate about it and to think about it.
I love that word. That word was so special. Dave.
It's up there with plinth and pamphlet. They're great words as well. Hemoglobin. I really like the word hemoglobin as well. But let's forget me in the dictionary. So I just
Dave. We haven't got time to do all these words because I haven't got a clue what you're talking about.
Pontificate on the word pontificate. It's Dave.
Dez, what's your score prediction before we leave?
You know what? I'd not thought of a score prediction until you mentioned it there, and I'm
wait there. Well, wait there. Don't do it. Don't do it.
No, I'm totally inclined to agree with Dave. I was thinking as he was talking that it could be a battle. You know, we might go heavy in midfield. I don't know. I've no idea, but I think they might go sort of O'Brien, Mangala, Kouyaté maybe, really sort of battle this one out. Hopefully, we've got enough up front, enough quality, because I think we can affect them at the back. The one area you can get Fulham based on what we saw last year, you know, is at the back. There was a bit shaky, to say the least. Even though they kind of dominate that game, they beat us 1-0. So I think with the better players we've got now, and even if there isn't a number 9, contradicting everything I've just said, I think we can definitely break them down and score goals. So I think a 1-0 would be a good result, you know, to really sort of a win, a W, and a clean sheet, you know. And like Dave says, 2 weeks, the record's changed, hasn't it? The mood's changed. We was all hoping that Bournemouth game was going to be. Yeah, we kind of accepted those 2 defeats to them big clubs, but the reality is, if we get one in this one, you know, we know Fulham have started well, and they've been brilliant. They've been a breath of year. You know, I've actually enjoyed watching them. I've never said in my life I've enjoyed watching a Fulham team, and this year that they look good. So yeah, I'm kind of inclined to go with Dave. I think we've got enough to break them down, but it's going to be a fight at the same time, you know, sort of scrapping about in midfield and coming up toe to toe. I wouldn't be surprised if one of the midfielders does tries to do a little bit of a job on Mitrovic. You know, when he does drop deep, when he drops deep, because he's known for that number 9, but he scores a lot of goals from outside the box as well. Not
he does come deep.
The edge of the box.
Yeah, he does come quite deep, and he's got this ability. I don't know if he's learnt this ability. He seems to be now. Before he was like just going into the box and hoping something would come in, but like he's coming deep now, and he's sort of knitting the play and sending his wide men away. He's kind of, and so he's become more difficult to mark, I think.
Do you know what he's become, Dave? He's become a very, very good footballer.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, he always had some ability in scoring goals, but he's actually maturing into a brilliant footballer. You know, someone that every team probably wishes they had a bit of. You watch it with Kane. Kane almost becomes the quarterback, doesn't he?
Yeah.
It's not working first. I criticise him at times about his touch and things like that, but he drops into midfield. He's pushing people away. He's doing this, and that's what he's become. He's become Fulham's quarterback, the guy who's the pinnacle to what they do. So if we can stop him, and like I say, it might take a dual effort from the defence and perhaps the midfield. If we can stop him, I think we stop much of what they do.
I do think. Sorry, without wanting to go on, I do think that Willy Bolly will probably start tomorrow night. That's my feeling, is that Willy Bolly will come in. And but about Mangala, having watched Steve's presser earlier, I know there's this.
I don't believe what he says, Dave. Steve Cooper.
I know, but
mind games with us.
I'm not sure it's a mind game this time. I don't think he would have said it otherwise. I know there were pictures of Orel in training earlier in the week, which was good to see. And it was good to see them like looking happy as well. They could, there were some people saying, how dare they laugh? And I thought, well, if I've had a bad week, laughing's going to get me through it. So if I've got a team if they were all falling, what do people want to be? For them to be morose and to be like depressed and all that kind of stuff.
This is what people love negative energy on social media. That's the problem. I mean?
So, but with Oral, I don't know. It's the way Steve said it, and I know the Forest medical staff. You give them, like you say, 6 months to the Forest medical staff is like half an hour a lot of the time. But I'm not sure about Oral. I think there will be changes. I think Lewis O'Brien will come in, and I think he'll kind of go toe to toe with Harrison Reed. And I have a feeling that Freuler might start tomorrow night. If Mangala's fit, then I would immediately put Mangala in the side, because at Everton, what I absolutely loved about him, and he was probably the best performance by any Forest player in as an individual this season. He kept the ball so well against Everton, and he was spraying it around and involving others in the team, and he wasn't busting a gut in doing it. I thought it was such a. We've had 2 real bad blows on top of having to work out this conundrum. The blows of Moose getting hurt against West Ham, that's been a huge blow, I think, because he looks a real player, and Oral getting hurt at Everton, and we've just been a bit unlucky in that. We won't be unlucky the whole way through. We might get the both of them back and they go on a run. But if Mangala's fit tomorrow night, I'd almost say he's my first name on the team sheet. I think he's a tremendous player, and he's a really nice lad. I met him actually.
That's right.
What's the Mangala thing?
So really do really hard, lads. But I'd like to see Mangala play. I think he could end up being one of our best signings.
Right, before we do go, like I've got some chat, and this is from Andrew. Thank you for the £1. So I'm good for the comments as well. But yeah, right, that's the show, everyone. Before we do go, I've got some special shout outs, and I got an email. I didn't go for my emails as much, but this is a special email, and this is Justin Lewis. Like I said, when people email me, I do look at emails. Sometimes I'm just tired. I'm spawned, but this got me choked up a little bit. This one here. This is thank you, Justin. If you're watching, see this one. You can see DoreOnTour is magic. This is from his daughter.
That's lovely.
That is lovely. And you can see at the bottom, DoreOnTour. That is Forest on magic. So Justin, brilliant. Thank you for the email. I thought, and it was his birthday as well. Happy
is it Justin's birthday? Ben, is it Justin's birthday?
Yeah, Justin's birthday. Happy birthday, Justin.
Happy birthday, Justin.
As well. As well, I've said it on my Instagram as well, people. I've been asked to go to, if you love Jamaican food, I know Dave loves his food, please. I know Dez, forget about Dez, because Dez he likes to do pitch footy. So people, if you see Dez, go to him, because he always wants me to go do pitch footy. So go to him, Forest fans. Anyone. And it's Justin as well. Thank you, guys. Happy birthday, Justin, as well, for being a member. Justin, get on my show. If you want to get on my show, or Monday night, Dez, do daily, dialing with Dez. Get on Monday as well, people. As well, but Dez you got quite
last word on the weekend.
Last word of the weekend. So, people, if you do want to get on Dez, please do.
Yeah, Neville and Carragher, they talk shit.
Well, so people, yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for everyone that took part as well. If you are new to the channel, please do hit the like button, subscribe if you know anything as well. Yeah, so people, if you do want to meet me, because if you do like Jamaican food, the place is called, where is it called again? Caribbean Fusion Street Food. It's next door to McDonald's, so I'll be going there, promote the food place. I love Jamaican food, so they've asked me if I can come to the place, I will. So if you do want to get on the vlog, people, I'll be there 6 o'clock. I know a few people who owns the bar as well, so please do. I am going to go there about 6 o'clock. Anything else I need to know? But yeah, people, I'm going to get going. Dave and Mr. Do Daily, thank you for coming on as well. People, subscribe to Mr. Dez. His link is in the description as well, people. And as well, people, look out for my Twitter and Instagram, because there's a great. I'm going to give K knows. Des, K, if you're watching, don't tell him. Des, do you want me to send you it now? Right, let me send you it now. Let me send it now and see what Des says. I will see what Des. Watch out for this. Des, look at your phone, Des. I said it now. See what you think of it. That's you. Do you like it?
I don't quite know what to say, Dor.
What it was, and everyone knows it. Before I do, like I said, as you know, I did it for Des.
No, that's brilliant. No, I love it in many ways. But who is it?
You. What it is, as you know, like I've done my channel for 5 years, and like Des has done quite a lot for me. Malcolm has done quite a lot for me, and Craig has done a lot for me as well. So, and I thought I'd do a little treat for him. And shout out to Nottingham Forest Cartoon. They're on Twitter as well. I will post it in a minute so everyone can see it as well. So what I thought.
And I appreciate what you do as well, Dor, because you know, this has given me a bit of a platform with my channel, and of course with the Dial In with Des thing. It's brilliant, you know, just having a say on football. It's not easy, you know, especially after you've not seen the game and we get beat by Bournemouth. but I was getting married, weren't I, Dave? And if there was ever a speech longer than one of Dave's, it was my wedding speech.
Well, that was the longest speech ever.
I've never produced a puppy at the end of mine. I've produced some like sighs of boredom and like, you know, tiredness, but never a beautiful puppy, mate. So yeah, and actually,
he's not here in the room at the minute, but we'll have to get Stan the Man on.
Get him on, Des. Why can't you? This is why getting channel. Get Stan the Man on. Well, we'll bring him on next year, Des. We'll bring him on next year because we're going to get going. People, like I say, if you do want to see the thing that we've got, check out my Instagram in a minute, on Twitter. They're great drawings as well. And if you do want to get some drawings, they're called not NFC cartoons. I've got Des, Malcolm, and Craig a T-shirt as well, and they've done one for my daughter as well. So, like I said, Des, it does something. I thought I'll do something back for him. He doesn't deserve it because his head's so massive. That's why he's got a big head. So
wait till you see it. My head is bigger than my belly.
But yeah, people. Right, I'm gonna get going. Before you do, shout out to Eze. Smash the like buttons, guy. If you can, it's a massive favor. But people, like I said, tomorrow, I'll be at the Jamaican place tomorrow around 6 o'clock. Get your food in. Great people, and then they are my people from St. Anne's as well. So, people, if you want to get the vlog, get there now. Des, Dave, thank you very much. Like I said, subscribe to Do Daily. It is in the description. People, and I'll see you tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Watch out for my Twitter, watch out for Instagram. Peace and love, people. Up the forest.
1-0.